What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former unified British heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua held their first press conference, open press conference, to announce the rematch, the highly anticipated rematch between himself and current unified Mexican heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz Jr., who defeated him for that title June 1st at Madison Square Garden. They held the opening press conference. They will be holding another press conference tomorrow in Madison Square Garden. A couple of things that Anthony Joshua stated that I wanted to address. He stated that he understands where he went wrong. He understands that he has to expose Andy Ruiz Jr. a little bit more, and he'll be victorious. He says he had him when he dropped him and he hurt him. He says he could have exposed his weaknesses a little bit more. Now that he understands who Andy Ruiz Jr. is, he understands the weaknesses that he possessed. He understands his strength. He said, I'm going to see him a lot more just in this short period of time promoting and announcing the rematch than I did the entire build-up for the last fight. So he was highlighting and basically stating that, he didn't know who Andy Ruiz Jr. was. He wasn't prepared for Andy Ruiz Jr., right? And so this time around, there'll be no surprises. This is what I stated to you guys. I said this before. The art of surprise for Andy Ruiz Jr. is no longer. This is the biggest fight of Andy Ruiz Jr.'s life. This is the biggest fight for Andy Ruiz Jr., point blank and period. The first fight, he had the art of surprise. He had no pressure on him. Nobody thought that, he was going to win the fight. Outside of his family, his circle, and a short list of boxing pundits, majority of people thought that Anthony Joshua was going to be successful, including myself, in the first fight. Andy Ruiz showed us that styles make fights. His skill set seems to be all wrong for Anthony Joshua. His hand speed and his counter punch ability and his willingness to punch when Anthony Joshua punches proved to be all wrong for Anthony Joshua. With that said, Andy Ruiz Jr. Seems to be a little, in my opinion, unfocused, right? Going into the rematch. Now, this is still the beginning of September. The fight's not going to take place till December. So I know you guys are going to say, well, Blue, he got all of September, all of October, all of November, and so he has at least 3 months, going into 4 months before the fight takes place. But going into the biggest fight of your life, you look at Showtime Sean Porter going into his fight, the biggest fight of his life currently, against Errol the Truth Spence Jr. And I say this is the biggest fight of his life because Errol Spence Jr. is looked at as the next face of the sport of boxing. Keith Thurman was looked at as the biggest name in the welterweight division. Well, I say the best welterweight in the welterweight division at the time. Sean Porter fought him. So, it was a little bit different. Nobody looked at Keith Thurman as the face of boxing. Errol Spence is looked at as the possible face of boxing. Okay, so with that said, Showtime Sean Porter has been in training camp for quite some time, preparing for the biggest fight of his life, and he's never not prepared. Okay, so and still in all, this dude has been in camp months before the fight was announced. Now, there's a such thing as being overtrained. So I'm sure Showtime Sean Porter, who's a constant professional, knows how to approach it where he won't burn himself out by the time the fight comes. But he was preparing himself for this fight for quite some time. With that said, Andy Ruiz Jr. seemed to be having, celebrating and, unfocused going into the rematch. But that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean he's going to win or lose the fight. I'm just talking about preparation. What I'm saying is, the art of the surprise for Anthony Joshua and Anthony Joshua's team is no longer there. They know that they can't mess around with this dude. They understand the hand speed. They understand his resilience. They understand his toughness. They understand that he too only had 5 weeks to prepare. So the art of surprise was still the same case with Anthony Joshua, because Andy Ruiz didn't know what to expect when he got in the ring with Anthony Joshua as well. Only difference is he didn't have the pressure on his back that Anthony Joshua had. You understand? Now the pressure's on Andy Ruiz to prove it wasn't a fluke. Now it's put up or shut up. You understand what I'm saying? And so Anthony Joshua was stating that because everybody said that if Anthony Joshua didn't understand his shortcomings and why he had those shortcomings in the first fight, then going into the rematch, it would be a repeat, right? So Anthony Joshua is now responding to those critics and those people critiquing him. He's saying that he understands that he has to expose, and this is his wording because he's from the UK. So I know a lot of people are going to be like, questioning his wording, but he says that, he knows that he has to expose him a little more, meaning that he has to soften him up a little more before he goes in for the finish. He understands that there's weaknesses that Andy Ruiz Jr. possesses, and he has to expose those weaknesses before he feel like it's there to be had. You understand? So basically what Anthony Joshua is stating that he's going to be patient. Patience in our terms is basically what he's saying. He's gonna take his time, expose him a little more, break him down, right? And then he's gonna go in for the finish. So, but my thing is this: styles make fights. And so you can't be too patient, because Andy Ruiz will be winning on the scorecards if you're too patient, because he's active and he's going to come and his hands are faster, right? And he knows, he's been in there with you. He understands what power you bring. He understands the distance. The biggest thing, in my opinion, that Andy Ruiz Jr. Calculated was the timing and the distance. And if he can duplicate that timing, he understands Anthony Joshua timing, and he understands the distance that he needs to be successful. If Anthony Joshua can't offset that, if Anthony Joshua can't switch up his speeds, you understand? He can't throw everything at the same speed. If he doesn't switch that up, Andy Ruiz will get his timing down even quicker and the distance down even quicker, and it will be a repeat. So the biggest thing, I think, in my opinion, that Anthony Joshua needs to make, the biggest adjustment, is the speed of his punches. Offset them. Keep him off balance. You understand? Feint. Use feints. Back up. Keep resetting them. Make him reset. Because once he got his Anthony Joshua's timing and distance down, that was all she wrote. And Anthony Joshua said that, it was a punch sent by the guards. No, it was the timing. It was the timing, and he understood his distance. And if Anthony Joshua doesn't offset him and keep resetting him so that way he can't calculate his timing, like Floyd Mayweather was a master of that. The first couple of rounds, he would fill you out. He wasn't filling you out to feel your power. He was filling you out to understand the trajectory that the punches were coming, the speed of them was coming, right? Your timing and the distance into where he could touch you and get out. That's what Andy Ruiz got down pat. That's what Anthony Joshua needs to offset. So when he's saying he needs to expose him a little bit more before, it's not about exposing Andy Ruiz. It's about offsetting Andy Ruiz. It's about what Anthony Joshua does more so than what Andy Ruiz does. Because Andy Ruiz is going to react to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua needs to offset Andy Ruiz. And keeping them off balance, keep them guessing. Don't let him get your rhythm. Don't let him get your timing. Don't let him get the distance. Because once he does, he's faster than you on the inside. He's quicker than you on the inside. And that'll be all she wrote. But that's all I got for y'all, man. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Anthony Joshua says that he understands he has to take his time and he has to expose Andy Ruiz Jr. a little bit more than what he did in the first fight. He said he had him. He thought he had him when he dropped him in the first fight, but he didn't calculate just how good Andy Ruiz was, just how resilient Andy Ruiz was going to be, and he misjudged everything. So he's stating that this time around, he will not be misjudging it. He will be exposing Andy Ruiz's flaws. He says he sees a lot of flaws in his game. He knows his strengths. He knows his weaknesses. The last time he wasn't able to properly gauge who Andy Ruiz was and how Andy Ruiz was, because he said that this time around, just in the press conference announcement alone, he'll be able to get to spend more time with him than he did the entire build-up for the first fight. So this time around, he'll be able to know who Andy Ruiz is. He's gonna process it, and he's gonna dispose of Andy Ruiz Jr. That's all I got for y'all, man. Y'all know what it is. Peace.